What's up, guys? It's your boy Metpach420 here, coming at you with a new one. And today we're going to talk about these election results. And actually, this is the second time I'm recording this. Usually I just do one take and just edit it. But my other video was a little, I wasn't satisfied because I wasn't getting to the point of what I wanted to talk about. I was too busy reminiscing over the results and just yakking about nonsense that no one actually gives a shit about. I'm trying to get to a point here. And we'll talk about some of these results, but it's gonna relate to what I want to talk about, and it's culture. I do see a lot of doom and gloom coming from the GOP. A lot of people that aren't necessarily like Republican, but they're conservative, and they're kind of upset that they didn't do better. Even though, you know, the GOP is probably going to win the House and might take the Senate, and you know, the whole Stacey Abrams Brian Kemp thing, that was glorious. And of course, in my home state of Texas, I mean, I cannot be any more happier than seeing Beto O'Rourke lose for a third time. I tried out as the I tried out against Ted Cruz, lost, and tried out against for the presidency. Oh man, and here we are trying it again for a third time. Three-time loser. I'll tell you, Beto O'Rourke is good at one thing and one thing only, and that is burning through other people's money. Because I already said it before on Twitter, the man runs races he intends to lose. But look, we could talk about all these results, some people not being happy with them. Like, I mean, they're going to take the House. I mean, that's pretty significant, and they may take the Senate. If anything, it'll be a 50-50 Senate. But if this goes in a runoff and Herschel Walker wins this runoff, I mean, and same thing with Lake and Hobbs. I mean, that's a very, very close one. That's, you know, they're leading. Again, I don't trust Google. They're a little bit behind on what's going on, but what last I saw is that Carrie Lake is closing the gap. So that could go in a runoff. I don't know. We all know about Arizona's honkinings. But look, Vermont, you know, I don't like Bill Scott, but he ain't going nowhere. New Hampshire, I mean, they've turned into the freedom state. The freedom movement's been going on there. Florida with DeSantis, I mean. So there are some things to be happy about if you're on the GOP side. But I want to talk about the people who are, you know, the Minnesotas, the people, again, the Fetterman Oz thing. That was, look, there are people that legitimately went out and voted for Fetterman, knowing that he is a stroke patient, knowing that he is unfit to serve. We could talk about Mehmet Oz being a bad candidate, and we could argue that. We could definitely talk about that. But people still legitimately went out and voted for Fetterman, knowing all these things. Why? Because culture dictates it. Their friends on Instagram and Facebook and all these other social media sites told them, you know, you have to vote for Fetterman. You know, they may have not even known about his stroke. I mean, well, a lot of people did know about it, so legitimately voted for him. But when your friends are going out and tell you to do things, you know, and you just do it because culture dictates it. I was getting in on it earlier Twitter with some conservative cuck who doesn't understand that a lot of the reasons that they lose out a lot of these races, very close races, is culture. If they had people, look, I've said this before, you can have the best ideas and be the smartest person in the room, but if everyone is wearing metal t-shirts and Pokemon t-shirts and you're sitting here in a suit and tie and you're saying, hey kids, come over here, let's talk about fiscal responsibility and gun laws and gun rights. Yeah, no one's gonna listen to your stupid ass. All right. If you're wearing a metal t-shirt with everyone else, or you're just being cool, or you're into Fortnite or Pokemon or whatever stupid shit these kids are fucking into, anime or whatever. If you're influencing culture and creating things that a younger audience and a younger generation, not just younger, just people in general that are be interested in, that influences things. All right. I remember during the Obama years, when I was growing up, when I was a teenager, going into my early 20s, the whole Obama stuff, and you had actors that I liked going, I was like, yeah, vote for Obama, he's the coolest, yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal, and these are things like, I remember all the propaganda. It's what it is now. back then when I was growing up, that, you know, watching all the entertainment shows and you see actors and saying, oh, I'm going to vote for this blue guy because he's the best, man. Why? Because the other guys are just so old and gross and fuddy-duddy. Like, that's quite literally their arguments. They didn't actually giving any actual talking points. It was just, they're just uncool and unkempt, and they're just terrible, and they're ugly, and they want to take away your rights. And you're like, what rights? You didn't say anything. Like, you know, I remember those. And as I go and look back, and I'm like, oh, that's clearly propaganda for fucking idiots. You know, and I bought it because I voted for Obama because I was tired of the Bush wars, and, you know, I thought things would be, you know, different. I thought there would be change. But in actuality, I learned that Bush and Obama and the Clintons and a lot of these people that we voted for in the past, you know, fucking 50, 80, 100 years, honestly, are all part of a specific group that are, you know, there to take control over you regardless. That's about as deep as I want to go in there because I don't want to get banned off of YouTube. But look, the left learned long ago that if you influence culture, you influence people. All right, you don't have to have good ideas. All right, and look, I have great ideas. All right, I'm a libertarian. I have all the ideas. All right. All kidding aside, you want to influence elections, you want to influence people, you have to influence culture. You have to create culture. And, you know, you got guys out there doing it. Young Rippa. I just finished ISOM #1. Fantastic job, my man. Him and his crew over there did a fantastic job. I mean, the artwork was beautiful. The colors were vibrant. The book was a great book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So shout out to you, Young Rippa. That was I'm very excited to see what else is coming from the Rippaverse. We need more of that. We need more culture like that. So I haven't bought a book in 10 years almost. Maybe not 10 years. Oh, I guess the last time I bought a book was maybe 2015, 2016. I don't remember. Maybe around there. So it's been a while since I bought a book. But the last time I bought a book and thoroughly enjoyed it and had a great time with it, it's been a while, man. So stuff like that does influence things. When I was growing up, I was in bands and stuff, and music was the thing. Music was the driving force of my teenage years, and a lot of people who grew up with me those years, you know, listened to a lot of hardcore, metalcore, metal, a lot of bands that, you know, and I love and still listen to and influence, and a lot of those members of those bands are left-wing idiots that I can't stand their opinions. I love the music, but they're fucking morons. Old school guys too, Sebastian Bach, Dee Snider, all these fuddy-duddies now. I call them fuddy-duddy rockers because that's what they are. They have shitty left-wing opinions. I've done videos on Dee Snider. I've done videos on the sellouts, right? Very few people I really respect in rock and metal from that generation, and really just in general, very few people I respect in rock and metal as opposed with their opinions. The music, you know, can be good and great. It's one thing. I still love it. But those artists influenced me, right? They influenced people to go out and do things. It's about culture. The whole reason I started the whole Metpach420 Streams is because I wanted to play games and just create some culture, call out the gaming industry for their practices, because they've gone woke and they've done a lot of stuff on, you know, on their end that just has contributed to this controlling of culture, right? I go and I log into Destiny, and the people that work there are all activists. It's fucking mind-numbing. They tweet out stuff that divides the community, and instead of fixing the game, because right now the game, you know, I mean, some of you may not be gamers, but I'm going to go and this is important when we talk about culture. It is a game that I play. I've been part of the Bungie community for over 20 years, going back to the, you know, marathon days on Mac. So I've played all the Halos. You know, I've been playing Bungie games for a long time, so I've been in their community for a very long time. And when I log into the game, you know, and it's gotten stale, I log into Destiny, it's gotten stale. There's not a whole lot to do anymore. The season is lame. There's no weapons in trials and PvP, and there's no new strikes, and it's just, the game is boring and stale. And every new season, we get a new season activity. We'll burn through it in like a month and a half, and then we're start for more content. The game's loop is just it's uninspiring. It's a chore to log in every season to level up so I can finally play the end game stuff. And then once you're done with the end game stuff, there's nothing to do. You know, I could talk about legitimate criticisms of the game, right? But when I go on Twitter and we talk about legitimate criticisms of the game, all we get is this shit. This November, we're raising awareness and support for the transgender community. This month, all profits from the sales of Bungie's pin Pride Pin 2.0 will benefit trans quality. All right, yes, let's hustle off more gear for groomers. Great, fantastic. That is what I want to fucking do. Instead of giving me weapons for trials, which is at its lowest point in, oh God, ever, which is, I mean, I say that every fucking time because every fucking time it's true. Trials gets worse and worse every season. It gets lower and lower player population, and you're here hustling off groomer pins. Thank you, Bungie. That is what I need from you. But that's what I talk about when I talk about culture. This right here. No one over there working over there gives a shit about the game, because if they did, I'd be playing it right now instead of making a video. But shit like this is what I talk about when I talk about influencing culture. All right. All the people that are making video games, making comic books, making movies are all into this shit. Not necessarily this shit, not necessarily the trans grooming stuff, this stuff, not necessarily this stuff, but just left-wing ideologies in general. For decades now, the conservatives and libertarians have ignored culture. I remember growing up, this is even going back when I was young, during the Harry Potter days, when I was like 9, 10, 11 years old, when those books were fresh, and it was the Christian conservatives that were attacking it. You know, and look, I grew up in a Christian conservative household, and their beliefs, you know, went against what, you know, Harry Potter is, witchcraft and all that stuff. Look, Christian conservatives believe witchcraft is, you know, devil's work or whatever. Look, it's all silly stuff. If you know, I can, you know, but some people do believe that. And look, I just think Harry Potter's corny as fuck. Now that I grow up and I've, you know, read it and looked into it, watched the movies, that shit's corny as fuck to me. But people love it. People like it. And if you like it, that's cool. It's created a massive phenomenon. And people love the stuff. And what I love though is when J.K. Rowling comes out and she's like, oh, they were always Ron was, you know, these characters are always gay. Dumbledore was always gay to begin with. It was always a thing. He was always a gay. And then you have old school Harry Potter fans pushing back on that, like, hold on here. You had no inkling or any reasoning to make Dumbledore gay other than the virtue signal. And I love it now that she's being completely destroyed by the third wave feminists, because she is a old school feminist, and she comes out and says, you know, some facts that I agree with, and then she gets completely destroyed by people that bought her. I mean, look, J.K. Rowling gets every bit of criticism and shit her way, because again, she is a left-wing loser that has pandered and bent the knee and has no principles. All right, and I love it when old school Harry Potter fans that have principles push back on her bullshit. So again, I may not be into Harry Potter, but to you old school fans that are like me, that have been stuck around to your thing and you push back on the nonsense, good on you. Do more of that. We need more of you guys out there. That's what I talk about when I talk about culture here. Create new culture, create new things, make new things. Again, the whole reason I stream on the weekends playing Halo and calling out, you know, these gamer outlets and their bullshit is to create culture, you know. When I eventually have kids, I'm gonna, you know, teach them my values. And the interesting thing about that is people that tend to be conservative or whatever, libertarian or whatever people on the right, I don't know, it keeps getting broader and broader, honestly, the people on the right. But I will teach my kids values. And the interesting thing about people on the right is they're having kids. People on the left are advocating for abortion and not having kids. You know, it tends to have more an effect on the minorities like me. They tend to push abortion and Planned Parenthood onto minority families, which is, I find really interesting, but it's there nonetheless. I know the left advocates for that kind of stuff. The left aren't having kids at the rate that the right is having. So when you influence culture, you're gonna have a younger generation that it's gonna glob onto the culture. All right. And again, it's not about being the smartest person in the room. You can have all the ideas, you know. Like I said, I have all the ideas in the world, man, you know. But no one's gonna listen to me if I don't have something to offer, you know. If I'm not, you know, if I'm just some guy who has ideas, no one's gonna give a shit. I gotta have something else than just have the ideas, you know. What makes me, you know, interesting? Why should I listen to you, you know? Oh, you like Metallica too? That's cool. They're an old school metal band. What else you like? Meshuggah? Okay, cool. Machine Gun Kelly, yeah, he's a fucking loser too. He's a cuck. He ain't real, right? You know, I can talk about metal and rock and stuff, and with newer kids and younger kids, and you know, when I work with younger generations. I work with 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, and they talk about, you know, music all the time. And you know, when old boy from Migos died down in Houston over a dice game. You know, what's his name? I can't remember his name, but I know the crew. Heard the music, you know, not my thing, but they liked it. But you know, over a fucking dice game. Boy got capped over a dice game. You know, in Houston. You know, and I tell those boys, you know, don't get killed over a fucking dice game. You know, you hanging around with some bad motherfuckers if they're gonna kill you over a goddamn dice game. But you look at the culture that has been cultivated in the rap and hip hop community, and it's par for the course. When I talk about culture, man, that's what I say. We need to create a culture and create an influence that keeps kids from getting killed over dice games, and voting for John Fetterman, who is clearly a stroke victim and unfit for, you know. Oh, but you know, Mehmet Oz, look, Pennsylvania's fucked either way. I mean, you have a stroke victim who's going to be a puppet for the deep state, or Mehmet Oz, who's a, you know, a conservative who, you know, like Trump endorsed him, probably because, you know, these people owe each other's favors, right? And I see a lot of GOPers getting all butthurt about, you know, not doing better because they're trying to blame Trump, when I can clearly point out that when Trump was on the ballot, the GOP did well, and when he's not on the ballot, they don't do that as well. Again, I can look at stuff like this. I can see Cernovich tweeting out stupid stuff like this, and I see gamers like Necrogen, who plays Destiny just like me religiously, stomping on him. All right, look, Trump, red wave, blue wave, all that, it's all bullshit. All bullshit. Again, it all comes down to culture. All right, it's that simple. You want to win, you want to make future generations more liberty-minded, you want to make future generations less clone voters and more independent thinkers. All right, influence culture, create things, and then push those ideas into those things. Don't do what the left does and make it all woke and make it all nonsense and just take old stuff and then pervert it into something new. No, create new things. Become the catalyst. All right, and you'll be surprised what happens next 5-10 years when you have your kids, when you're, you know, when they're growing up, getting ready for school, and you see things have changed. It's because culture. Okay, don't sleep on it. Start doing things. Create culture. Create awareness. All right, don't be complacent. All right, for too long the right has become complacent. Don't be complacent anymore. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. If you like what you see, like, share, go and like, share, subscribe. Follow me on social media. I'll have all the links in the description. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Deuces.